Starting, and our Hangout is live. Wonderful. Howdy, folks. There's quite a few people joining us, which is wonderful. And joining me is Mr. Kai Davis. Kai, say hello.
Hey, folks.
Excellent. You know, it's interesting. So in both our offices, we have the same acoustic foam tile because we both buy everything from Amazon. And I noticed that Kai's glue job is a little bit off center.
You could trust me with anything relating to your website, nothing relating to home improvement tasks.
Good to know. Okay, so if people would be so kind as to ask a question or suggest a topic, mainly, so ask a question or suggest your store, and we can run through it quickly. That would be fantastic. If you do it in just that big red ask a question or suggest a topic button, it's at the bottom. And I see we've got, we started with 2 questions, we're up to 3. So, just keep putting them up there. That would be fantastic for us. I could see that easily. The chat, the Q&A on the side, I don't necessarily see that. So first what we're going to do, let's talk about what we mean by theme optimization, what the point is, the quick 5-minute, 500-foot view, and then, run through a working example, and we'll talk through what works. And what should be interesting is, Kai is Kai's going to be my devil's advocate here for what may not work in some of the stores I've set up, which could be interesting. And beyond that, then I would just like to run through some of your stores and your questions. So make sure you're posting those. Cool. All right. So when we talk about the what and the how, when we talk about theme optimization, we're really talking just about web design optimization, web design setup. Or in Shopify, functionally, our theme is our website. It's no different than WordPress, or if you were cutting your own static website back in the day, like I'm fond of doing. But the whole point, of optimization really comes down to making things as easy as possible to use. So, we think immediately of putting your payment details in, and everyone concentrates on making that easy to use, I've noticed. But before you even get there, there's so many more steps. We have to look at the entire thing end to end. So when someone first lands on the site, do they know they're at the right place? Do they know what you sell, who you sell it for, why, what the benefit is? And that's a lot of positioning, and we talked about that 2 weeks ago in the positioning webinar. And then can they find the right products? Can they find the thing they're looking for? Can they get it into their cart easily? And then can they check out? And along the whole way, do they feel safe? And the reason that all of these things, these tiny little things about optimization, are so incredibly important is your biggest enemy isn't your competitors, it's the back button. At any moment, it is just so easy for me to swipe back, click back, hit the backspace key. I can just very easily leave your website and go back to Google and just search something else, find someone else's website, or just go back to Amazon. There's no reason I have to suffer through a poorly set up website, be it a Shopify store or anything else. And I think, we know that, when everyone is browsing other people's websites, suddenly they're very critical. But with their own site, the issue is no one spends as much time on it as you do. So stuff that makes sense to you as the store owner may not make sense to other people. So when we talk about theme optimization, we're really just talking about, hey, can we make this theme as easy as possible to use? And the big reason is the phrase that I coined with Kai at Double Your Freelancing Conference is the user is a crazy, lazy drunk. If we just think about the user that way, if we assume, just assume the worst of the visitor, that they are on their worst day when they visit your website, that's a good starting point. So if we can design and optimize for them, then we know it's going to work for everyone else who might just be lazy and drunk or just drunk. But for the sake of it, let's assume everyone is lazy. That one's probably safe. All right. Kai, anything to add there?
I was just going to say, whenever I look at a website for optimization possibilities, I always imagine that the user I'm designing for, the user I'm optimizing for, they're ordering a gift for their spouse, They're about to get into a taxi or an Uber, and so they're really, really rushed. So in that scenario, luggage in one hand, phone in the other, thinking about their trip, needing to order a gift, can they browse your website, buy the thing, and complete checkout within 2 minutes, 3 minutes? If not, what can you do to make it easier for that person in that completely hectic, crazy situation to be able to find their way forward? Like Kurt pointed out, if you optimize for that, call it lowest common denominator, you make it easier for the people who are sitting in front of their 27-inch Retina MacBooks or Retina iMacs to place that order. But if you optimize for the person in that stressful, hectic situation, suddenly it trickles up and everybody further up the buying chain is able to say, oh, this was a really easy experience.
Exactly. Okay. Sorry, I was posting in the chat. All right. So to go through an example of what I, in my opinionated way, think is a well set up site is I'm gonna do a screen share and we're gonna look at everestbands.com, which is a Shopify store, a Shopify Plus store. One of my clients, we've worked together for years, Kickstarter success story. But we'll kind of walk through what works and maybe find. And Kai's going to try and help me find a couple things that don't work, which should be cool. So let me find the screen share button. Screen share. Right, I want to share screen to. All right, let's maximize this. Okay, Kai, I can't see you. Can you see this window?
I can see Everest Bands.
Wonderful. Okay. So for optimization, we know people read in an F pattern. They start top to left, and or top left, and they move across and down. And we also know, things start at Google. So if you notice right up here, our title tag actually isn't just Everest Horology. If I hover over that, I could see it. It is Rolex replacement straps and watch bands by Everest Horology. So that's, a bit of an SEO play in that's our phrase, but it also describes what the site is. Because if I've never heard of it, I've never seen it, I don't know what an Everest band is, so why do I care? Where if I can describe it succinctly, that helps. And Shopify limits the max characters for a title. It's 70 is what they limited at, I think. But Kai is the real SEO pro. I think suggests even a shorter length to play it safe.
Yeah, Google limits it to, Google actually, interesting, limits it by pixel width. So the exact number of characters you could have in a title can depend on how wide your character is, which is kind of wonky. But you want your title to clearly describe in the search results, like even before they visit your webpage, what they could expect. So if we think about somebody who's searching for a obviously replacement band or a customized band for their Rolex, if they search and the first result in Google just says Everest Horology, people are going to be like, that's great. What is this? I don't know. I'm going to click option 2. But by having a title that clearly says Rolex replacement straps, somebody who's in the market for that product will say, that is what I want. That is what I need. I am going to click. It reduces risk and it makes it easy for people to know what to expect once they click on that link.
Yes. Yeah, no, exactly. So once, I said that people read an F pattern. So the reason it's important to know that is, where do we put our logo? So naturally, the first thing I've done is, I always prefer these logos in the upper left. Seems to do better. And then you get this nice resource where you could it leads straight into the navigation. I've noticed a lot of people really don't pay attention to, or it doesn't seem like there's any order to the navigation they chose. So we lead with our most important thing, which is shop by watch. And then we put in, that's our call to action. That's the thing we want people to do, is pick their watch so that we could start funneling them down and get them to pick the product. And then we know the second, the second link we're using is to show the Everest band install. And the reason for that is the most common question they get is, how do I install this? And particularly with Rolexes, there's even these odd misconceptions where people say, oh, you can't remove the strap on a Rolex, which is flatly untrue. Or they think you have to be a jeweler to do it. There's nothing special about it. It just changes like a regular strap. So what we've done is devote, first thing is our call to action that we want people to do is shop. And in this case, we're lucky that we don't have to break it into multiple categories. And then our second thing is answering the most common question they get, Everest band install. And then we do resources, which is just kind of a way for us to bury these articles that some people want but others don't. About is great. A lot of people will, when they get to the cart, they'll head over to About to try and give an idea of how trustworthy you are. And then, of course, Contact. When you make yourself available, people are more willing to trust you.
Yeah, I completely agree with the way you've laid that out. I always think of it as the most valuable page should be the first page in the navigation, since we don't want people to have to hunt to decide what to click on. So if there's a specific product, a specific category, or a specific page that you know is high converting or leads to conversions, signups, purchases, lead with that in your navigation. So when somebody shows up searching for, in this case, a Rolex replacement band, the question they're asking is, do they have the band for my watch? The first thing they see here, reading through in that F pattern, is shop by watch. Okay, great. Now I can see if they have what I need.
So then the other thing we've done here, most themes support these info bars that you put across the top. It takes up like 20 pixels of real estate. I love to use these things to answer two questions. Do you ship free? And what is your toll-free number? Both of those are huge trust indicators. People would much rather pay 5%, 10% more for a product and get free shipping than pay 10% less and then pay for shipping after the fact. Because we know unexpected shipping expense is the number one cause of abandoned carts. And if you want to deal with the headache of international shipping, most people don't, then it's worthwhile to advertise. In which case, then you've got the additional headache of a currency switcher. And then I always, as a matter of optimization, I always want to make sure I've got a standardized cart icon and it's in the upper right, just because that's kind of the place we've come to expect it now. Then for homepage optimization for positioning, same deal. In 3 words, we surveyed their customers, and in 3 words, we have a really concise benefit that we're displaying and showing, and that's customize your Rolex. And then again, we're repeating that call to action. But we're also treating the homepage as a landing page. So, we're walking them through here as to what they could do. And then again, this is a customization, trying to get people to pick their watch, showing the collection at a glance. And then we move into a little bit of social proof with just the Instagram widget. And especially, watch people are if you have an apparel brand, fashion brand, Instagram is hugely important. So adding that as social proof on the homepage is great.
This is beautifully well done. The one thing I'd add is for that top info bar, I think your Everest is doing a wonderful job calling it out there. For listeners' stores, one thing to think about is whatever the number one or the top 1 or top 2 questions you get most frequently from potential customers or people who have bought a product from you or people who are returning a product to you, use that info bar to call it out. I've seen people use it to call out free shipping, other trust indicators, their return policy, 30 days, guaranteed return, no questions asked. Anything that they're frequently asked by customers or seems to be a point of friction in that checkout process, including it in that info bar, just so when people are on the homepage or within the purchasing funnel, they're able to easily see, 30 days I could return the product, no questions. I feel safe making this purchase.
So, in their case, we've sent people straight to the collection listing page. Not every store is going to do this. It's not going to work for everything. But here we're just funneling them, making them select by watch. But I won't hammer on this one too much, since probably most people won't do this. And then we get into the collection page. So, the collection, the mistakes I see people making with collection pages, they try and do too many products in a row. They don't pay attention to load times. They have quick view enabled. Quick view, really, I've never seen it boost conversion. I've never seen it hurt conversion. But what I have seen it do always is bloat load times on these collection pages. I have seen up to 50 meg collection pages from a combination of things. But quick view always is guaranteed to double the size of this page with no advantage. So I would kill it. And then I would just make sure, make sure you've got a nice featured product that represents it. That's an easy optimization. And what they've done here is made this little, this composite with 2 pictures and set that as the featured image. There's no reason you can't do the same. And that way you can get easily, essentially multiple product images into your collection page without having to load multiple images. This is a customization. It's easy. You can get this done for probably like $50 to $100. It's just color swatches on the collection page. And that way at a glance, people could see, hey, this comes in multiple colors. And then I would recommend, display the product title, display the price. You just want to give people information at a glance to get them to click through on it. So, beyond that, the only big optimization you could do on a collection page that I think is kind of cool is anytime you sort a collection by best-selling by default, you are essentially making it self-optimizing, where your number one selling product is always going to end up first. Now, we don't do it with Everest, and the reason is because we have things so broken up, it always ends up forcing the spring bar tool first, and it's because the spring bar tool is an upsell that goes with every watch. But for most stores, doing sorting by best-selling by default is probably the way to go. So, and featured, of course, is just a manual layout. And let's dive into a product page real quick. Oh, this one's a bad example. There we go. There's a better example. Okay. So once we're on our product page, the biggest mistake I see people making is, and a lot of themes default to this, they put the description above the price and add to cart. I think that's a really strange, it's unconventional and it's a strange flow. I think going title, price, options, add to cart, description has consistently been the high performer, the way to go on these things. And I like to do, a clever trick is to just match the color. I haven't done it here, but match the color to the add to cart button. And if you notice, our call to action colors are very consistent. Like that shop by watch button is that green. This is actually we took this from a Rolex box. The add to cart button, and then we'll see the proceed to checkout is the same color. And then using layouts, we have actually added quite a bit in here. There's nothing providing people. A lot of people want these really concise, quick descriptions. Don't do it. Give people, every time someone asks a question, if it makes sense, if it's a common question, put it in your product description. Have huge product descriptions. 500 to 1,500 words. That's great. I love big product descriptions. Look at the ones at Amazon. They're actually pretty huge. And then, of course, Yotpo reviews. Great app. Gives you great social proof automatically. And then we did related items. I'm not sure if this helps or hurts. I would test it in your own store.
From an SEO perspective, I think having related items does help because it provides product to product links to help Google know that, hey, this product A, is similar to product B and product C, and it just helps with internal linking optimization. So I think having related products is a helpful optimization to make, both from a customer perspective, oh, I don't quite want this, but I want this other thing, and from an SEO perspective, it's a high value internal link between two products on your site.
Cool. Yeah, that SEO thing I didn't know. Yeah, and here I was suggesting doing the green price. Here I've done it. I really should do it up at the top. But yeah, you're right. If this wasn't exactly the product I was looking for, and I got to the bottom of the page and there was nothing there, I'd probably just, I may go back or I may close out. Whereas having related items is going to help keep me going until I find the item I want. So let's say, all right, we'll check this guy. We'll pick an orange rubber watch. This is the one I have. We'll pick our size. This is just a quick optimization. These are variants, and then we just styled the radio button or the drop-down menu. It's an easy optimization. All right, so add to cart. How can we optimize every theme with add to cart? And some people may think, well, you need an Ajax cart, a sliding cart, all kinds of goofy things. And the answer is no. On add to cart, I only want one thing to happen. Take me to the cart. That's one less decision the person has to make. Takes them straight through to the cart, makes their lives easier. And then you may notice two other optimizations that have happened here. And the first is we have relabeled the checkout button to proceed to checkout. And the reason we do that is it's more accurate. You're not actually checking out when you click the checkout button. You're heading to the checkout process, and it's a lower ask. If I say checkout, I'm implying give me money. Or if I say proceed to checkout, that's much more equivalent to let's go stand in line to pay for this. I just think it's a tiny but important optimization. And then we have the PayPal checkout. Putting the button back in here. This is going to save some people some time because they don't have to enter their address and they feel safer with it. So I always recommend accepting credit cards natively, of course. Shopify Payments is wonderful, runs on top of Stripe, but also accept PayPal. I often pay with PayPal because I'm lazy and I don't want to type in my address. Again, the user is that crazy lazy drunk. But let's, and then if we've got our international store, of course, remind people what our currencies are. But let's head to checkout, and our journey will soon be over. All right, so once we're in the checkout process, you can now, most people ignore this. not most people, but some people ignore setting up their checkout. It's now supported in all themes. There are fonts you could pick. You could change the colors. You could set the logo. And then that way you have that consistent brand experience moving through. So just make sure you do that. I mean, that's really a easy 5-minute optimization. All right. That's, that's everything I wanted to cover there. But really, like, if you notice, there's nothing crazy I did. In fact, really all we did was try and simplify the site, have people make as few decisions as possible, pay attention to how people were talking about the product, the issues, the questions people were asking, answer those right on the site wherever we can. And then when you combine that with just really great product photography, your store will shine, when you use a premium theme. In this case, this is just Parallax. I like the Out of the Sandbox themes. I think those guys are great. Pixel Union makes great themes. Any of those will be good. Retina I use a lot. It's a good theme. Retina and Parallax are probably my two favorite. And if you're doing single product startup, of course, it's fantastic.
Can I ask a quick question about the checkout process? One optimization I've seen on other stores that I didn't see here.
Yes.
So on the checkout page itself, and maybe my information is out of date. I've always thought it's a good practice to echo the information we have in that information bar. So phone number, free shipping at the checkout page here, just so if somebody loaded the checkout page, goes away and comes back, they don't have to ask themselves like, oh, how much is shipping going to cost? Or, oh, do they have international shipping? Or, oh, I have a question. What number do I call? So I've always, when I've done e-commerce optimizations, I've said, hey, for the logo on the checkout page, modify it to include that information or those trust signals. Is that something people should try to do? Is that a needless optimization?
I love that, actually. I 100% love that. In fact, I love it so much, I'm going to write it down. Yeah, I've done this in other stores. I don't know why I didn't do it here. Cool. So yes, Shopify doesn't give us an option to throw text in here. However, there's an easy cheat for it. Since they let you upload a custom logo for the checkout, all you have to do is you could be a bad boy and add text to the image. So if you just said, if we added text to this image, and I'm sure I'll do that this afternoon, is questions, call us toll-free, and the toll-free number is a great trust indicator that we could throw in there. The other place you could do it, if we head back, that's an easy optimization to add into the cart. Probably put it, and actually the way, now that I look at this, I would move continue shopping to the left and then put the questions thing kind of where the continue shopping is. I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Using that continue shopping area just to repeat any trust signals into any indicators. If you have like 100 positive reviews for your product, you could even echo that here. Like, you could trust us over 10,000 satisfied customers. Questions, call us at XYZ.
Yeah. Well, let's load out. There's one where I know they did a great job of it. So Pirate Fashions. Well, let's get to a product. Complete pirate outfit.
I have my Christmas gifts already picked out.
So these guys are in Tampa, Florida, and there's a pirate parade, an annual pirate parade that is a huge deal, and that is so they have a 4,000 square foot pirate fashion store, and if you call them pirate costumes, they get very upset. These are pirate outfits. So, yes. Okay, so yeah, here they've done it. We've thrown this in the cart. We've got why buy from Pirate Fashions. And then they've even made it kind of fun. All orders are processed within 48 hours and most ship is fast. You can call us anytime at. And ideally, this would be a toll-free number. If you want a toll-free number, they're inexpensive with like grasshopper.com. And then, especially with clothes, people's big concern is, what if I buy the wrong size because I can't check it out? So he busts that objections right there. Wrong fit, we'd be happy to exchange it for a different size. And if you call Pirate Fashions, they will in fact answer the phone using a pirate voice.
And I'm guessing that those are the 3 most common questions they get from people who are about to order. How long will it be until this ships? Yeah,
and part of it, especially like people, I'm willing to bet, and I don't have this info firsthand, but I'm willing to bet the reason that's there and why that's an objection is a lot of people have like a party to go to, in like 2 weeks, and they want to know that they're going to be able to wear their pirate costume in time for whatever party or event.
One difference I noticed between this checkout page and the Everest checkout page is they include special instructions here, but you don't include a special instructions field on the Everest Bands page. I know you have some thoughts about the usefulness of that field.
I do. So by default, in most themes, this is turned on. This is a requirement from Shopify. All themes must have this special instructions field. And I think it creates some ambiguity, where people get confused. They don't know what to do with it. Like I see a form field at a checkout and I feel compelled to fill it out. And then it's like a little spot where you're letting people make crazy demands of you and then be upset when you don't meet these like made up expectations. So I would caution people, unless you absolutely have to have the special instructions field, disable it. And I know I've had this conversation with them. There are products where the special instructions are helpful or necessary. So that's why that's still there. But for the most part, like in Everest Bands, there's, the product is the product. You pay for it. They're going to ship it. What more is there to know? There's no special instructions there, and they don't offer gift wrap. And if you are going to include special instructions, just, go jump at the theme and relabel that word, or use the translation to relabel special instructions to something that asks a question that says like, do you want free gift wrap, or like, do you want a gift receipt included? You could do something like that. With special instructions, it's just too broad, where I could say anything. I could be like, I demand this ships in 1 hour or is free, which obviously you'd ignore, but it's too easy for people to do silly things, and it creates ambiguity for me.
Yeah, it's a friction point. It's
a friction point. So then if we click proceed to checkout, and here we could see same deal. It has been styled to match the site. Looks very nice, and then it gets rid of some of the cognitive dissonance that happens when in a non-Shopify Plus store you end up on a different domain name. Yes. And then here, they could do the same thing, add the phone number or a tagline below the logo.
Yeah, or those same 3 bullet points just to the right of the logo.
Yeah. No,
process in 48 hours, call us at this, wrong fit, exchanges, no questions asked.
Yeah. Yes. Those are all good points. All right. I wonder if this store has it. There we go. So this is a easy optimization I wish more people would do. Search is important when you have a ton of products. A fashion store often has a lot of products. Search is a great, easy hack for people to be able to find what they're looking for. And then you can really increase its usefulness by adding autocomplete to it. There are apps to do it that make it very fancy, or you can get this basic but very effective version. Is a free Shopify modification. Takes about an hour to do. And then you get, the autocomplete like Google and we got these suggestions with the little thumbnails, and then this could be styled as well. So then I click it, and bam, here I am, right in my product. So that's kind of fun. Search is important. If you have a lot of products, a lot of people will use search. And another silly way to optimize for search, we found out if you change the label from search to search the store, more people will use it.
Ooh.
Isn't it? Yeah, that always baffles me, but it's like it's consistently true. If you just label it search the store, people are like, oh yeah, that's what that's for.
That makes sense to me. I mean, I've had search experiences on websites where suddenly it kicks me over to Google and I'm searching the store, but through Google.
That's the worst. That's painful. And another thing in Shopify, and this is often a theme setting, you could choose if the search searches all content, since Shopify is essentially a CMS, or only searches products. So you probably want it to be only searching products. Like, what's the thing we want people? Sure, you might have valuable content, but this is a store. It's supposed to make money. We understand that the intent of the person here is probably to shop, and we definitely know your intent is to sell. So I would always limit those search results to just products. Plus, it's frustrating. Like, I know, I personally find it frustrating, when I try and search for a product and instead I get a blog article about the product. Like that's great, but I wanted to buy it. Where did it go?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In fact, the only thing I would change here in this navigation, we should have contact us as a trust indicator. But they also have it up. They have it up in the top. And here they've used the info bar to do an interesting trust indicator. They have a physical retail space, and it's big, and it's in a major city. So And especially for people who are aware of this pirate parade, which if you're spending several $100s on a pirate costume, you probably are. They've stated, like, look how big look how big we are. We're a real store. We're not a drop shipper. We're not a fly by night operation, by doing that. So sometimes there's subtext to these things. And I like, people are even playing along in the reviews with the pirate language. It be of fine value. Fantastic. Worked right well, keeping the scurvy knaves off me ship. What, they all do it. That's fantastic. Okay, let me hop back to see what questions we have. Fine, folks. Oop, oh my gosh. I'm back. Okay. All right, so we have 3 questions here, and they are, does a responsive theme mean that the website will automatically display, and actually, there we go. Does a responsive theme mean that the website will automatically display well on mobile, or does the developer still have to do some formatting work on the website to make it display well on mobile? The answer to that is yes. The thing about responsive is not all themes are created equal. And I think beyond just responsive, that's true of themes in general. There's another question about which is the fastest theme. So for certain, there are some poorly coded themes out there. Some themes are difficult to change. If you want to do a lot of customization or revision, they could be difficult to mess with. So that's one consideration. You want a theme with clean code in case you need to update it, change it, modify it for your liking. Not all themes are particularly responsive. So by responsive, all that's going on is the theme responds to the width of its screen. That's all it's doing. So it actually turns out it's a really easy thing to check for. So a lazy theme developer will just say they'll write a desktop version, a iPad version, and an iPhone version. The problem is there's way more devices than that, and we don't know what the next device is. So like the width that an iPhone 6 displays at and an iPhone 6 Plus display at is actually different than each other and different than an iPhone 5, which is still different than an iPhone 1. So as these new devices come out that the developer didn't think of or care about, then you end up with this site that starts breaking. So it's actually incredibly easy to check if a site's responsive. I will go back to the screen share, and I will show you how. Let's see. Screen share, screen 2, share. All right. Okay. So as I resize this, so I've got this wonderful Chrome extension, shows me the viewport size of the windows, 1260. That's about desktop size. So let's look at a product page. So here, our product page is very important if it's responsive or not. As I shrink it down, it shouldn't break. It should, as soon as I get, as soon as the browser window starts to get narrow on there, I want to see it change layout in a way that makes sense. And if it's truly responsive, it means it's going to look great at every single possible resolution, not just 3, not just desktop, iPad, iPhone. And as I scroll down, there we go. So let's see, around off the top of my head, this is like Amazon Kindle Fire size. This guy would be iPad, that's desktop. Here we go, shrinking it. And there we're down to mobile. So, the easy way, just grab it, resize the window, and if at any point the layout gets broken, looks strange, then you know it's not properly responsive. So if I pick any random width, it should always look right. Or at the very least, be legible and usable without stuff overlapping each other. Yes. So, I'm gonna stop screen sharing now. All right. Let me just double check this question. So the answer is, yeah, it depends on the theme. And if a theme is poorly coded, fixing it can be costly. It could be time consuming. So I would try and get a theme that works well from the beginning. And again, just go with a trusted developer. Out of the Sandbox, Pixel Union, those two, you probably can't lose with those guys. Kai, anything to add on that?
I'd say it is important to think about responsiveness for your website.
Well, even Google considers it now.
Oh yeah, I was about to lead into that.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. Right ahead of me on the script. But yeah, Google considers it when they figure out it's one of their main it's not one of their main ranking factors, but it's a considerable ranking factor now. And you could see that if you search for a keyword on your phone or even sometimes on desktop, you'll see a little snippet of text next to the meta description, like in a gray color that says mobile optimized. And sites that are not mobile optimized, that aren't presenting a good user experience for somebody who's on their phone or on their tablet, they're going to be degraded in the search results when somebody's searching on mobile. And since now we've actually passed by the 50% threshold for people searching on mobile devices compared to desktops, it's only more important to think about, well, where are my customers coming from? What device are they using? And you could look in Google Analytics and see firsthand, well, maybe only 20% of the people who visit my site are on desktop anymore. If that's the case, it really is important for you to consider, will making my site responsive, will making my site optimized for these people in the context they're using the site, improve my conversions, improve my sales? Answer is, it most likely will. As long as you're doing something that makes it easier for somebody to check out, more people will check out.
Yeah, again, name of the game, make it as easy as possible. I had a point I was going to make there, and I totally forgot what it was. So I'm just going to move on. All right. Fastest loading stock themes. This is a loaded question. Let me start answering. Okay. So another important Google ranking factor is performance. And really, it is literally like the biggest thing there is how big is the page? And we touched on that a little bit when I talked about collections and encourage people to disable quick view because it's going to cut that load time, or rather enabling quick view will double your load time. And I want to, actually, I want to show you how to check your load time and then give you a guideline for it. So I'm going to go back to the screen share, screen to share, and head back here. Okay. So I'm going to go to the home page, this most important site. I'm using Google Chrome. In Google Chrome, if I click Inspect Element, and I get my inspection window, and then click Network, and then reload my page. When it's done loading, there we go. It's going to tell me the size of the site and how long it took to load. So the load time on this thing was 1.78 seconds, and the size of the site is 1.7 megs. So there's a lot of factors that go into this, but rather than try and turn yourself into a web developer, just focus on the size of it. If we make it smaller, it's going to load faster. And the rule of thumb I use is you generally want a page to be no bigger than 2 megs. If it's no bigger than 2 megs, it's probably going to load well, work well across most devices. But the smaller you can get it, the better. It's just a better experience. And you definitely don't want anything taking longer than 4 seconds to load. It's kind of interesting. If you survey people, they'll tell you that they'll leave a site that takes, I think it's like longer than 2 seconds to load. And in reality, if a site takes, if it's like, I think it's 5 or 6 seconds, by that point, a majority of people have actually bounced and left. But it may not even be reflected in your bounce rate. Since your site's still loading, your analytics package probably still hasn't even had time to load and let you know that you lost this visitor. So actually, sites with very high load times will often have very skewed bounce rates for that reason.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I just wanted to comment off the cuff how amazing it is that a web page is about the size of a floppy disk nowadays.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. I didn't even think of that. Floppy disk was 1.44 megs from back in the day. And really, even if the site loads fast for you, most people have poor internet connections. If you live in a major city, you're lucky you have a fast internet connection. Most of America doesn't, and they don't have fast connections. They may, and same deal with wireless. And especially like phones take much longer to render things, and the bigger file sizes, bigger page sizes are going to make that worse.
Yeah, again, I was going to say, when we put ourselves in the mind of that customer, that prospective customer who's getting into the cab, trying to order that gift right before they take off on their flight. Well, if they have a crappy 4G connection, if they're on edge, if they're sitting on the plane and your site just isn't loading, they can't get to the checkout window, they can't even get the homepage loaded. Well, what are they going to do but hit the back button and decide to go somewhere else? Exactly.
Yeah. So again, and that's just an ease of use thing, is make the site smaller. And a couple quick ways to do that. Once we figured it out, it's like, what do we do now? The number one culprit is images. So if you could properly size images, reduce the total number of images, that helps a lot. So if you're in Photoshop, say you probably don't need to save your images at anywhere near the quality you have them at. So if we rank JPEG compression from 0 to 100, the difference between 60 and 100, no one can see it. So actually, I would treat quality 60, or if it's out of 10, like 6 of 10, whatever works out to 60% what you're using, will be no different than 100% quality, but significantly smaller. And I would always, unless you have a need for transparency, you want to use a JPEG. I've seen people save out pings as their product photos, and Shopify will obey that and use those pings, and your product pages will be bafflingly huge at that point. Then with Shopify specifically, the other big culprit for load times is people with, we'll say app-itis, where you install way too many apps, and then each one starts loading redundant code. So if you have apps that really aren't helping or doing anything, and you're seeing these huge load times, I would start auditing those apps and kill the ones you don't need.
Yeah, I see the same thing with a lot of WordPress sites where plugin-itis, where people have just said, I'm going to load every plugin I could think of and see what happens.
The more features, the better.
Exactly. And you end up with a site that takes 16 hours to load and nobody can actually use.
Yeah. So, and I talked to Gavin Ballard about this on the Unofficial Shopify podcast. His recommendation, which was great, is rather than just go look for fun apps to install, wait until you have a specific pain or problem that you need fixed, and then just find the best app for that. Don't install apps for the sake of it. Install them when you have the need for them. And let's see. All right, let me check the chat. Oh, that's strange. Jennifer says, I'm only seeing the top 1/3 of the video screen. That I don't. I'm glad I'm not necessarily an IT person because I have no idea how to solve that one. All right, and then the last question, and we'll wrap it up. Where to edit the font size for expanding slide-out menus and mobile views in Shopify? Most slide-out menus have text which is too small. I agree. So most slide-out menus have text which is too small. A lot of people tend to use text that is too tiny. I would always err on bigger text, and I would choose for your text sizes for body text. I think 16 point is the minimum, and as monitors get bigger and devices get bigger, and we get higher DPIs, which is fantastic, fonts get smaller. So I'm often using 17, 18, even 19 points as my base for my fonts, but I always use 16 point as your minimum font size for body fonts. And if you want to get really fancy, I would check out Google golden ratio or typography golden ratios or typography scales. You'll find where people have laid out mathematically beautiful font sizes. So rather than choose the fonts arbitrarily, they'll give you a scale, a guide for saying, okay, here's a good size for body font, your headings, etc.
Yeah, just like you wouldn't want to build your theme yourself, why try to pick your typography yourself? Use something off the shelf. Somebody smarter than all of us combined has already said, these look great together, these sizes work, grab it and run with it and spare yourself the hassle.
I like that. So that's another one you said, these look great together. So that brings me up to font pairings. When you want to use, and this also plays into load time. So the more custom fonts you have on the site, the bigger the load time is on the site. So I would always limit yourself to 2 fonts, pick 1 font for the body and 1 font for the headings. And then ideally, you have one that's maybe the heading font is a sans serif, and the body font is a serif. And if you Google the phrase font pairings, you will find people who have listed out hey, based on their sizes, here are font pairings that work really well together. And if you notice in Shopify, almost all of I think all of the fonts that themes use are just the top Google fonts. So search for top Google font pairings, and you will find these great suggestions. And just changing those fonts will immediately make your store look unique. I know a lot of people have an issue where they think oh, I bought a premium theme and I bought the top one and now it looks like everybody else's store. Well, if you change your fonts colors and your images, immediately it starts to look different.
Tiny customizations like that could just make it stand out and more sticky in the buyer's mind. You're standing out from the rest of the competition who use the same theme.
Yes. Okay, so last step, I want to give everybody homework. So how do you know if your site's easy to use? What do I do with it? How do I know? The easy hack for this is find someone who has not used your site. So it can't be you. You are biased. You know your site too well. Find someone who's never used your site. It can be a friend, but hopefully, let's get someone who's not particularly a friend because we want them to be honest. And shoulder surf. You got to keep your mouth shut. I know it's hard, but just ask them like, hey, this is my website. Can you find a product on here and walk through buying it? And then just watch them and write down everywhere. Like it will become clear where they've gotten confused or slowed down, and they will always do things you didn't expect them to do. And try to do this with a couple people. I mean, that's really what usability testing is just filming people using the product. And then that will give you a really great idea for where you can optimize and where people are struggling.
Echoing on that, I've always found it really useful to, almost more than watching them interact with the website itself, watch their faces, since they might not say, oh, I was confused at that point.
But turn on the webcam.
Yeah, turn on the webcam. They're like, and they just like make that I don't know how to use this website grimace that we all have made at some point. That's where you need to optimize. I've sat friends down or acquaintances down in front of my computer with ScreenFlow running, just so I could record the desktop as they're interacting with it and the webcam to see their face. And then I'll just watch that video. And the moment when they're like, what do I do? That's where I know I have some friction and need to optimize the website.
That might be interesting to do it, like leave the room and let them have at it. And then that way they don't feel pressured and you get a more natural reaction. I've never done that way. That's smart. You might be a smart guy, Kai Davis.
Adding value.
There you go. Okay. So call to action. Kai, where can people go to learn more about you and what can you provide them?
Absolutely. So my name's Kai Davis. I work with people who sell things online, be it a product like a Shopify store or information like a course or a guidebook, and help them grow their audience. And if you want to read more about me, you could visit doubleyouraudience.com and download my content promotion checklist. So next time you launch a new product or have a great article go out, this will tell you the exact steps to follow to promote it, to get the most eyeballs on your new product or post.
Cool. I like that. All right, my turn. I'm best known as, oh, you blew it with your phone ringing. I'm best known as the host of the unofficial Shopify podcast. I interview interesting people in the e-commerce space weekly. And if you want to get those episodes sent straight to your inbox, head to kurtelster.com, KURTELSTER.com. That's my name. And you can sign up for free there, get on the insiders list. And once a week, every Tuesday, you'll get an email from me with the latest episode. And truth be told, I will also send you other things that are of value. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off as soon as I can. All right, there we go. Thank you guys.